Welcome back, everybody. This is Brother Mean here. Today we're going to talk briefly about a game I've been playing for the past couple of weeks now. City of Heroes, City of Villains is out again. It is free currently. It was shut down about 6.5 years ago, so it's kind of surprising that it's back, and it's so much fun still to play that I've actually been spending way more time on it than I should. But I thought I'd share a little bit about what I know about the game. We're actually in Hero Planner. This is a free downloadable software called MIDS Hero Designer, and you still get on the web. And while I'm not going to post a link to it because I don't know that it's not safe to download it, I trust them, doesn't mean you do, but I trust your guys' Google food to be strong, so feel free to download it yourself. It is outdated, so we're not on issue 23 anymore. We're actually on 24, and even a little bit beyond that are on 25 because they've been modifying the game in the downtime. So the latest version that you'll have is going to be incorrect. It's still useful though for planning out builds, getting a general idea of how things work, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So again, if you download MIDS, you can pick the basic archetype that you're going to play, give you an idea for the various ones in there, and of course there's actually one in there that doesn't exist in MIDS. It's a new one called Sentinel. Sentinel has the ability to be a blaster where it has primary damage at range. And then instead of the secondary set being more damage, which is a mix between range and melee, which is a blaster's secondary set, the Sentinel secondary set gives you resistances or defenses, which allows you to basically take a beating or be straight up just missed in combat. So it's blasting safely, if you will, versus a blaster, which is going balls to the wall with damage. Now, I'm not going to tell you which one to play, but I will go over each class that's available, these different archetypes, and kind of give my feel about what I like about them, the general play style. We'll do that in separate videos though. But today we're talking about MIDS. We're talking about ways that you pick your powers as well as ways you can upgrade your powers, which is what you're seeing here. So the first thing to point out is when you pick your primary and secondary set, and in many cases you do have those choices. There's some instances where you don't, and again when we get to those videos for the various archetypes you'll see examples of a few where the primary set is already picked for you, so is the secondary. Your powers, on the other hand, are your choice. So at level 1, you can see in MIDS here we have things labeled 1, 1, 2, 4, 6, and all the way up to 32, every even number from this point on. And then it goes 35, 38, 41, 44, 47, and then back to being 2 levels away at 49. These are your power picks and the levels that you can pick them. There is a hierarchy, so to speak, where you have to pick, in some cases, certain powers first before you can get the other powers later in a power pool. As far as these ones are concerned, you can pick them as soon as they're available. If you hover over in MIDS, they will show you. There's this tier 1, 2, 3, and all the way down to tier 9. So there's tier 1 through 9 here. Notice that they stagger in difference. So here's one available at level 1. It don't mean you have to pick it. Available at level 1, and you do have to pick this one. It's automatically forced on you. Your secondary power set, you have to pick tier 1. It's just given that you're going to take it. But at tier 1, you could pick, like I've done here, Mental Blast, the second tier ability, in favor of picking the low tier 1 ability. Now, why would you do this? Usually the higher the tier, the more damage that you're doing. So it's not surprising that as a blaster, I would grant the one that does most damage. This one's still good. It's not that you shouldn't pick it. It's just most people would say, well, I'm going to do damage. Let's skip it. And again, there's reasons for both. This one's cheaper, faster to cast, so you can spam this one. This one here is more expensive, and of course more damage as a result, usually, and therefore it's the one I wanted. Now, once you pick these other ones, you can see you can pick them up at various levels. Again, here's ones available: level 2, 6, 8, 12, 18, 26, and finally at 32 with your epic. And usually for a blaster, the tier 9 ability here is your nuke, so to speak. Massive AoE damage, usually centered on yourself, but sometimes you can throw it or shoot it at a distance, depends on what we're talking about. But really, really nice. It used to be that this would crash. What that means is that not only was it a big power piggy, but after you would use it, your endurance would go down to 100% guaranteed, and it would also floor your recovery. Well, this would mean that literally you were standing there with no endurance, no ability to attack, basically with your dick in the wind, just waiting for the bad guys that survived this attack to just turn every attention to you and shoot you in the face. Not exactly the best power ever. People still picked them, and there's ones that were ranged that were my favorites because you could do it at range and pop a couple of Skittles, which are ways to basically get your endurance back. And it was a way to mitigate that incoming damage for the ones that survived. But they have fixed that crash, and that was something that was going to be done anyway, so I'm pretty happy they did that. Another thing that they fixed, by the way, is most blaster primaries have a sniper ability. Long range, chargeable ability, so to speak, where it literally takes a long time of animation for you to fire it off. Notice that it's interruptible. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but basically this just means if you so much as stub your toe in that 3 seconds, or in this case 2.73 seconds, that you basically wasted all that endurance, you did not attack at all, and now the power is on its massive cooldown. Kind of a waste. But they fixed this one as well. Silence, or sniper powers in general, they always wanted blasters to pick them because it was one of their epic reasons for being a blaster. Massive range damage, right? Who wouldn't want this one? And again, it really does do a huge amount of damage right out of the box with a nice accuracy bump to begin with. Yes, it's a power pig, but you're not going to cast it all that much. So, the fact that people weren't picking it seemed a little weird to the devs, I'm sure. So they said, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to fix it. And the way they fixed it was this. If you have an ability to increase your to-hit chance, which is literally one of the two ways that you can increase your accuracy, your chance to hit a target, are based on 3 things. Your to-hit chance, their defenses, and your accuracy. And that is all calculated into a formula to decide your chance to actually hit, with an upper limit of 95% chance to hit and a lower limit of 5% chance to hit, which means you will always have a chance to hit a target. Of course, that always means that there's always a chance then for you to miss a target as well. So just because you have the most accuracy ever and build up and aim and massive hit bonuses besides, doesn't mean you're still going to hit the target. You may whiff left and right, because it's just one of those things that's calculated in there where you have that 5% chance to straight up miss. But the point is they literally decided if you had enough to hit bonus, and usually build up is enough. I want to say it's 15% is needed. Aim is another one that's usually on this side. You see that side does not get the ability to use aim, which is another type of build-up maneuver. Build-up does 15% to hit, 100% damage usually. Aim usually is about 50% to hit and about 50 to 60% damage buff. So you can see how they're different. Aim is better chance for you to hit your mark, but build-up is and when you do hit your mark, it does a lot more damage output. And you can stack those too, so you can do build-up, aim, then fire. A very tried and true method of doing some massive damage for 10 seconds, because that's all as long as each of those powers last. But again, the point was if you have enough to hit bonus, you can instantly fire your sniper ability. You'll know this because when you build up or you aim or you have another teammate buffing your to hit bonus, which there's ways to do that, if it's enough, you'll see your power icon, which are usually like these little circles that you're seeing right now, with a picture of whatever Silence's graphic is in the little window, and it'll be surrounded in a big green halo. And you're wondering, what the hell does that mean? That means you have enough to hit bonus for you to fire that off instantly. Massive damage. Can't stress enough, and it's uninterruptible, I believe, at that point. Therefore, pick a target that you want to hit, click your sniper ability as often as you can, because chances are you're going to do some serious damage. Having talked about all these changes, of course there's many more than just this to discuss, but we're not going to do that today. I want to talk about slotting up your powers. You notice in MIDS, you have these numbers here, 1, 3, 3, 5, 5, 7, and on it goes. This literally refers to the fact that when the power was given this particular slot, what level. So at level 1, this slot showed up. Level 1, it showed up. Level 2. You notice that each level corresponds with the level that the power was picked. Why is that? It's because every power is given a slot by default. So you always have the ability to modify a power right out the bat. Now, sadly, you can only really modify it in limited ways, especially at the early levels. But then you get slots on those levels that you don't get powers, and the odd numbers you're seeing for most part until you get to here. You would literally get 2 slots to put in. So you can put them wherever the hell you want. You can put them here, put Put them down in these guys if you really want to do, I suppose. You put them down in health and stamina, which is quite common. I wouldn't, put them in swift and hurdle. Those are just basically free, and just out of the box, just put like a running speed and a jumping height and speed increase in those and call it good. Same with brawl, you do like accuracy, rest you do recharge and call it good. Maybe sprint you'll put speed or you'll put endurance, but by and large this really doesn't matter. These ones are kind of fodder. These ones, on the other hand, it's very common to 3-slot these for various reasons, and again, when I make an actual build for you guys, I'll show you why. But for these ones here, let's just say you've slotted them up, and let's see how we can enhance them. So out of the box in MIDS, if you hold shift down and right click over the name of the power, it shifts to a second set. So we could compare and contrast. See, I just right click it, and I'm holding shift the entire time. And so this set is an accuracy, 2 damage, range, endurance discount, and recharge. Right click it. Well, let's see. Oh, how would it compare if I just do like accuracy 3 times and damage 3 times, right? Because maybe you're just curious to see how much it changes. So not holding shift down now. You see, if we hover over the mouse on any power, the window here changes. If you want that to stop, again, don't hold shift, just right click it, and you'll lock it in place. So now, doesn't matter where the hell I scroll, you'll actually see just mental blast, because that's the one I've locked in place. And you can unlock it just by clicking that right there. So lock it in place. Take a look at what you've done by 3-slotting and 3-slotting with these training origin enhancements. These are the lowest enhancements you can get. By 3-slotting and 3-slotting these, we've basically given ourselves a considerable accuracy bump and an okay damage bump as well. 128 damage versus 102 is pretty nice. I'm not going to complain about it. But again, if you wanted to see it's a power pig and it takes 8 seconds for it to come back, what would the other one do? Again, hold shift down and right click, and it shifts to the other set you see that we already established. So now my damage went down. Now again, not enough to really merit a concern. My accuracy is a lot lower, but again, at the low levels, it still probably isn't that bad. The fact that you have at least accuracy in there is useful. We've increased the range, so we actually shoot a little bit farther, which 4 feet's not that big of a deal. But remember, just about everybody in the game that you're targeting has about the same range on their powers too. And those powers can be gunfire, they can be rifle fire, they can be actual powers like you have. They usually have about an 80-foot range, and just about everybody has a ranged attack. So if I'm shooting somebody at 80 feet, they can just immediately turn around and pull their gun out and shoot at me too. So if I don't down him in the first hit, which is quite common that you won't, then he's probably going to get a shot off. So at 84 feet, on the other hand, I can shoot him. He can pull out his gun. He cannot shoot me. He has to take 4 steps to get 4 feet closer to me and then shoot, which doesn't sound like much, but that gives me a chance to fire off another power. You get the idea? This is why sometimes range is useful. Anyway, deviating from the point. The point is I have different stat changes. It's a little cheaper for this one to fire it off. It comes up a little sooner, not epically sooner, but definitely faster. So I'm more likely to be able to spam the attack, if you will. This is actually a pretty good attack chain as far as when this one's down, then you cast this one. When this one's down, you shoot that one. When this one's down, you have this ability. Again, all these are variable differences, and there's reasons for one versus another. This one's melee, so you have to be up and in his face to literally attack him with this, but it's pretty damn good damage. So are these other ones as well, by the way. But the point's still the same. Is there a reason to go one versus another? Sure. In this particular instance, you'll see that I have what's called an immobilization enhancement. And this one here, this power, called Ring of Fire, puts fire at their feet and prevents them from running. They literally are locked in place. They're not paralyzed. That's a hold power. In this case, Immobilize will literally just anchor them to the ground, so to speak. And truly, this one actually does, because it prevents knockback and knockup. What does that mean? There's powers in this game that literally can fling them ragdoll style against the wall, up to the ceiling. If it's knocked up, if it's knocked down, they just kind of slip and slide and fall on the ground like they're on an ice patch, which is an actual power in this game. So there's a variety of things that you can do with your different mezzes in this game. We'll call it mesmerization. Yeah, there you go. Mesmerization type powers. So these are ones that have some sort of crowd control ability. And we can talk about the various ones of those again in another video. But the point is I can modify it and increase the duration of it. That's what that does. So it used to be 17.88 seconds that they'd be locked to the ground. And of course, all the while you're peppering them with bullets and firepower and whatever else you're doing. They can shoot at you at distance because they still have that ability, but melee damage in this game is usually much more damaging. So if you immobilize them and then step away at a distance so they can't melee you, they have no choice but to pull out a gun, a rifle, or whatever power they're using and attack you from range. Now they can still kill you with those too, so don't be like, oh, I'm immortal because he's locked down and I can shoot at him from a distance. No, you can't. He can still shoot at you too, unless you're outside of his range. Again, go back to our mental blast. You lock the bastard down and then retreat to 84 feet with your powers here and here, and I can zap you all day long with mental blast, telekinetic blast while you're immobilized, and you can't shoot at me at all. So again, good combat tactics. But these enhancements are, like I said, training origin enhancements. So if you go into MIDS, if you right click over the enhancement itself, you see it pops up this window. And I'm going to explain what these basically mean. So here's training origin enhancements. These are all temporary enhancements. Training origin, dual origin, single origin. And they double in strength each tier. So this one here provides you a specific benefit. This one in its place at the same even level, whatever we're talking about. So let's say you're level 50 character, just to give you a number. The training origin enhancement at 50 will give you a specific bump. Dual origin enhancement at 50 will give you twice the strength of that bump. And a 50 single origin enhancement would again be twice the strength of the dual origin enhancement. So each tier is better than the other. Not surprising. Now, the difference is, and the reason I have these picked in this particular way is to show you some things. One is there are different types of enhancements, not just the fact that it's accuracy versus damage. I mean categories of enhancements. So you see how it says Schedule A? I'm getting an 8.3% roughly bump to whatever abilities. This one here is 5 because it's Schedule B. Okay, this one here is Schedule B, defense bump. This one here is Schedule C. It's the only one in Schedule C is interrupt, as far as I know, and the only one in Schedule D is knock back, which also again falls into the knock up, knock down, knock back category. So any of those powers that can be slotted for knockback, that's what that would modify. Notice how the numbers differ. These ones are 8.3, Schedule B's are 5%, Schedule C's are 10%, Schedule D is 15%. And again, those bonuses double at dual origin. So if 15 becomes 30, 10 becomes 20, you get the idea. Same with single origin, those double yet again. Now, why is it that some of these are 5, and some of these are 8, blah, blah, and some of these are these other weird numbers? The devs have decided that some powers, they didn't particularly care if you had like massive knockback, that's cool. If you had interrupt really shaved down for those like sniper abilities, this is one of those examples of one that really could use it, because again, who wants to use something that costs that much endurance, that could potentially do this much damage, and every time you try to cast it, you stand there like an idiot for 4 seconds, and for 3 of those 4 seconds you get interrupted. Again, you've just wasted all that endurance, it's on a massive cooldown, and you did 0 damage. It's a complete waste. So they decided, well, let's give you a decent chance to shave off those 3 seconds to a considerable amount that's less likely than for you to be interrupted. These ones here, B seems to be the weird one of the category in my opinion, because it's the one that's the lowest. Why is it the lowest? Well, because the ones that are in Schedule B are as follows: range, defense, resistance, to hit buffs, and to hit debuffs. Now there may be more than that, but as far as I can find online, that's the only ones I could see that have that Schedule B category. Now why would they want those ones to be the lowest possible bonus, 5%, 10%, and 20% respectively, if we're talking about training origin, dual origin, or single origin enhancement? Well, think about what we just talked about buffing. Your range, how far you can shoot. They don't want you to have a range that's like 180 feet with every power, because again, the bad guys can only shoot you at 80 feet. Again, you would just stand there like an orbital strike as far away as possible and just blast everything in existence. And before they even had a chance to crawl their happy asses to 80 feet where they could pull out a pistol and shoot at you, they'd probably be dead. It's not exactly fun. Fun to me, but for the devs, it's not what they wanted. The same with the other ones. You had defense and resistance. Those are protections for you. Defense prevents you from being hit. Resistance, when you do get hit, lowers the amount of incoming damage. So again, they didn't want those to be superly jacked up and through the roof, because then people are like walking around like immortal gods where everybody's whiffing left and right and they can barely lay a hand on them, and when they do, they take minimal damage. So they kept those as low numbers. Same with to hit buff. Now why to hit debuff got thrown in this category, I don't know. It seems weird. It's the same kind of general principle though, I suppose, because to hit debuff is kind of falls in the category of defense. There's, again, 3 ways that you can hit a target, right? One is accuracy, one is to hit chance, and one is the defense of the target. Well, if I lower the defense of the target, I'm more likely to hit them. If I increase my to hit chance, I'm more likely to hit them. And again, if I increase my accuracy, I'm more likely to hit them. Well, to hit debuff, just like it sounds, lowers their chance to hit me and everyone else. So to hit debuff is basically the same as saying defense. So I guess that's probably why it's in that category, but it seems a little weird. But again, whichever. You're still going to have more than enough with your buffs to merit slotting defense, to hit chance, to hit debuffs, etc. and so forth. But again, if you're looking for that 8.3% and you're like, how come it's only giving me 5? What the hell is going on? That's why. Look at the schedule. That's why I pointed out to you guys. Now, just to show you, I'm going to do this on the flip side. Well, just to show you, I'm just right-clicking and dragging to the left-clicking on the blank one to delete these ones. Like so, just to show you what single origin looks like, or sorry, dual origin looks like. I'm going to slot it like so and show you how the numbers differ from, say, this one down here. 8.3, 16.6, 8.3, 5, and 8.3. You see I have 16.7 for accuracy, damage is 33.4 now, bonus 16.7 for endurance, 10% for range, recharge time is 16.7. So again, I'm doubling the effect like I said. And again, the same would be if I went SOs. Now we're at 33 for that. If you switch these to SOs, I mean really the damage becomes quite significant, 66.6. And again, the endurance discount, the range is much better, the recharge is much better. Again, there's just nothing wrong with having SOs in every last thing you have here. Again, the downside of all of these are you out-level them. So let's explain that. When you get these, they will A, drop, B, you can buy them and then slot them. You can purchase them on different vendors in the game, as well as the market in the game. There's Wentworth is the one on the hero side, the black market is where you get them from the villain side. But the point is you can buy them, you can slot them in your powers, and you have whatever buff you just gave yourself. Yay, sounds great. The downside is you out-level them. So you can have enhancements like these at 3 levels plus or minus the level of your current character. So let's say I'm level 25, just to have a number. So I can have an enhancement that's in any of my powers that's at level 22, and it would still be giving me a benefit. 3 levels less. It's not going to be as much of a benefit as if it was 25, which is even to me right now, which is what these numbers represent, even level enhancements. It's not as much as if it was 28. I can have it 3 levels higher. So obviously if it's a higher enhancement compared to my level, you'd expect it to be a bigger buff. It's not much bigger, but it's definitely on the plus side. So as you level your character from 25 now to 26, 27, 28, those older enhancements that were really low could be falling off you. They don't go anywhere. They just stay in your build, but they show them as being red. So if it's yellow, it's on the downward slope, so you're past your prime, so to speak. If it's red, it's completely useless. I mean, it's there, but it's not doing anything. If it's, I want to say, green, it's the same level as your character. Maybe it's white, and then green is positive. But the point is when you slot these, you will actually see that there's a color associated with it, the slot, and that's letting you know that it's good or bad or, you know, somewhere in between, right? And that's what that does. So because these are temporary, that's kind of a bummer. So this is why this video is also here, so let's show you something else to compare directly. So again, these are all SOs now, and it doesn't matter that it's in different powers because I'm just looking at the buff value, not the actual stat value that you're seeing over here. Because if I was comparing apples to apples, I would switch it like this and do it on the other side and say, what does it look like if I do invention origin enhancements? Let's talk about these. Let's do level 25s, and we're going to do it for a reason. Let's see, how did I do this? Yep, and it just kept going, right? Okay, so now these are level 25 enhancements. These are permanent enhancements. You can make IOs at every level of increments of 10, 5, and 5 levels above. So 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, you get the idea, all the way up to 50. So these IOs are permanent. And once you can slot the IO, it doesn't matter that if you're a plus or minus 3. Well, I take that back. It matters that you're at least 3 away from the highest. So at level 22, I could slot these, is what I'm telling you. That's the soonest I could slot level 25 enhancements, is that level 22 build for any power that we're talking about. So that's cool, and that's why I say that as a milestone. 25, if you look at the buff, it's a 32% accuracy increase, 32 for all these other ones. This one here, which is that Schedule B category, is at 19.2. So again, just to point out that it is different, and it's fine. And if again, shift and right click, look at the difference. And again, you can compare the stats here. Look at what happens when I have SOs that are even level. So again, a level 25 character, let's assume that this is level 25 enhancements. As SOs, this is what this would provide me. A really nice accuracy, some decent endurance discount. It recharges reasonably quickly, have a really nice range, and the damage is considerable, right? Again, shift, look at these numbers while I'm shift, and then right click this, and you'll see how they change. A minor dip in every category. It's not as good as the one before it. But the difference is, while these ones are pricey to buy and slot into your powers, so are these, because you have to craft them yourself, but these never fade. From level 25 now to level 50, if I just keep these in here, they will always provide me the benefits that you're seeing. That's why IOs are important. Better than that would be if I did IOs, and I'm just going to do it on this power, just to demonstrate it. At 30, do the same exact ones. Now instead of comparing apples to apples, I'm just comparing the buff category. So you see the 32, 64, 32, compare it to this one's here. These ones give you slightly more, not surprising because it's a bigger number, than the one above it. Why do I mention it? Because if I switch this one now to SOs, compare now straight up SOs versus level 30 IO enhancements. Again, these ones never fade. These ones are good for a short period of time. We have 33.3 for accuracy, 33.3 for endurance, and 33.3 for recharge. Whereas this one gives me 34.8 for each of those categories. The damage is 66.6 here. Here it's 69.6. Here's a 20% range increase. Here's a range increase of 20.9. Again, not stellar changes, but definitely better than this one. Now, can this one technically be better than this one? Sure. If you enhance these where it's 3 levels higher than your power, which you can do, these ones would actually outcompete these level 30s. But once you get to level 35s, just right clicking and deleting these ones so that I can do this the right way. IOs, and we've made it, just type in 35, then click the enhancement that you want, and it will save the last number that you'd used. At this level of increase, notice that your damage is in the green. We'll talk about that in a second. But basically, these will never outcompete 35 enhancements. These will never be better than what you're seeing here. So, at 25 is the earliest, and I highly suggest it. That you, at the very least, start slapping in things like an accuracy in all your attack powers. You'd be surprised how often you miss in the higher level versions of the game, and you're wondering why it is your character's completely useless or always out of power, or your damage was great for 5 seconds ago, you just leveled up and now you're swinging and missing, you're a power piggy, and when you do hit, you don't do much damage because all these have probably turned red on you because they expire. Remember, you just out leveled the usefulness of those. Whereas if all I had to do was do this, and while yes, I could be no damage and it costs a ton of power to use it, because these are all now red, this one never turns red. So at the very least, I'm still going to have a decent chance to hit with this power at all times. You see what I'm saying? That's why you want IOs. Now, having said that, what else can we talk about? Well, IOs are great. They are pricey, and again, you can't get them till a certain level, which is level 10, I believe. You can purchase them and craft them at level 7, remember 3 levels higher. But once you craft them and slot them into power, they're permanently good. So you could, technically speaking, at level 7 slap in a 10. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not epic. It's not going to be so amazing that you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm just hitting all the time now. No, if you did it a couple times maybe even 3 times would be pretty good. But that's a pretty big waste. Same with like damage. You could do like that and it would be better, but it would be so noticeable that you'd really, well, maybe it would because of this. But the damage output wouldn't be so stellar that you'd be like, wow, I'm just crushing stuff. Wait till you get to 22. Use the SOs, the DOs, and the training origin enhancements that drop. And let's talk real quick about what dual origin and single origin actually mean. Training origin anyone can use. Dual origin and single origin are restricted to the origins that they're associated with. When you pick your class, you have to pick one of these 5 origins. Are you a magic-based character? Do you have a mutation? Is this something that was always there? Like Superman, he got transported to Earth. He wasn't mutated in any way. He wasn't a science experiment gone awry like the Hulk. He's not like Iron Man where he has technological advancements and he's not using any magic, so he's not a mutant. So he literally is always been this way. He just never was around a yellow sun. Now he is, and bam, he has superpowers. So however you want to rationalize your origin is what you pick. You don't have to really care about this too terribly much, but it does matter when we're talking about dual origin and single origin enhancements. Why? Because the dual origin enhancements will say, for instance, and I'm just giving this as an example, it'll drop and say, here's an accuracy enhancement. Great. Is it dual origin? Yes. Which origins? Magic and mutation. Oh, damn it, I'm natural, so I can't use it. Oh, but I'm magical. I could use it. Hand it to me, or trade me, whatever. Give it to your teammate, let them, level up their stuff. If it doesn't do you any good, talk to your team. Otherwise, you can sell these things. That's a thing as well. So we'll just give them away necessarily. But point is you'll get plenty that are useless, and it'll tell you can't slot this because you're not the right origin. Just read the tooltips. It's very intuitive in the game. But again, it doesn't matter if it's magic or mutation. Either origin can use them. No, it's not a sliding scale. It's not better for one versus another. Just period. Can I use it? Can I not use it? That's all it's telling you. Same with single origin, which of course is a single origin. It literally will be only for magic. There'll be ones that are for all these other classes as well, or origins as well, and you will not be able to use them because you're magic, and therefore you can't use the mutation ones, you can't use the natural ones. And the point is when you find bad guys in the game, especially when you're soloing, you will start to realize that certain bad guys have a magic background. Every guy you kill has a chance of dropping an enhancement. So if you're magic origin like this character is, fight the magic bad guys, because you'll probably get the enhancements you need to slot in your powers. If you're fighting technologically advanced jackasses and you're magic, the chances of something dropping that you can use is slim to none. You see what I'm saying? So again, there's common sense stuff, but it's just still one of those where if you're not thinking about it, it would never occur to you, right? But those are single origin, dual origin, training origin, and again, they wear off. These ones are not going to wear off. They cost money to craft. And there's a tutorial, by the way, in the game that shows you how to craft, so I don't have to explain it to you. Highly suggest the tutorial, but again, save it till you're level 22. The reason for that is that when you do the tutorial, this is in the university. There's a university on hero side, there's universities on villain side, so just find them. Do the tutorial, there's someone in there to talk to, like the dean of admissions or something is the one that gives the mission. You do what they say, and follow all the little, like go to this teacher. He or she'll tell you to read some stuff. He'll help explain how this works, how the leveling process works for how you can out-level your enhancements, etc. and so forth. At the end of the tutorial, though, they give you a choice of getting an accuracy enhancement, damage enhancement, or a recharge enhancements like these ones here. And they give you all the inf and which is the cash in the game, all the salvage which you would use to craft it, and one of the recipes to craft it for free. So it's part of the tutorial, so you will get a free enhancement for doing the tutorial is what I'm telling you. And because you're at level 22, it'll give you a choice. Do you want to level a 10, 15, 20, or 25 accuracy enhancement? Well, why would you pick the 10 if you have the ability to craft the 25 and use it? Make the 25. You see what I'm saying? So it's definitely worth doing at the higher level. So highly recommend it. Another thing that, just before we get into the other enhancements, I want to point out that you can have a lot of powers that are power pigs. A massive drain on your mana, for those of you that aren't used to endurance being the example, but endurance is what they call it in this game, but it's the same thing as mana. What charges your powers? If it's a massive endurance cost and you're spamming it all the time, you'll see your blue bar rapidly decrease. Yes, you recover endurance over time. Yes, there's ways to buff that. Stamina is one of them. But the point is still the same. If you're a power piggy and you haven't slotted any endurance reductions, you're going to be a flash in the pan. You're going to blast, and then you're going to be standing there waiting for your blue bar to come back up while everyone else is having fun, and you're just kind of like, I'm out of blue. Don't rely on other people to give you endurance back. Do the job of a smart person and give yourself a nice endurance enhancement, and especially the ones that you know are power picks. Ones that are reasonably cheap. This one's still pretty pricey. Here's one that's not too bad, 7.8. This one here, which we didn't pick, is actually pretty damn cheap. Well, again, another reason to actually pick it. Let's actually slap that one over here. This one here is actually not that bad. I could see spamming this attack, and it's up reasonably quick. You start slotting that bad boy for some enhancements, you can actually have a little bit of fun with it. By say, let's putting in extra damage in there just to be a jerk. We don't have to worry about the endurance because it's still pretty damn cheap. But let's get the damage up, and that's pretty nice. Before we get into the other IOs, again, I wanted to re-emphasize the point here. You see how it says yellow? Damage is 94.93. Pre-ed, it's 99.9. Why? This was something they implemented years ago called enhancement diversification. That's what ED stands for. What people were doing, you'd get blaster types specifically, or scrappers too, which were jackasses, and they're like, I'm all about the damage, and they would do stuff like this. Massive buff to their damage, because pre-ed, they were getting 199.8% extra damage. So if your damage is always 100%, this was really a power that now did 299.8% damage. If it hit. Why do I say if? Because they didn't slot it for any goddamn accuracy. They would rely on the team to buff their accuracy, because there's powers that do that. They rely on the team to buff their recharge, because it took forever for the power to come back online, because they didn't slot any recharges in it. They would rely on their team to give them endurance, because they were power piggies, and this is all they did with all their powers, because they were always chasing that ever epic bigger number. Yeah, jackass, I'm not your freaking buff bot. I'm not here to freaking keep your tune in massive endurance and massive accuracy, because you're too stupid to slot an accuracy, maybe an endurance in there. It's still a pretty goddamn good power to begin with. You don't have to have it uber epic. You can literally spread it out a little bit. So the way that the devs solved that problem was they forced it on us by giving us ED. ED means it's a sliding scale. Notice how it's in the yellow, and we're actually only getting 94.93. When it was in the red, you see it could have been 133.2 here, but you're only getting 99.98. It's a sliding scale, diminishing returns. The closer you get to whatever their number is, it steadily drops off to the point where it becomes damn near useless to keep slotting it the same way. Yes, it's 109 versus what it was a minute ago, which was 94. So 109 is definitely better, but is it really worth it? You're chasing a slight increase. So this was their way of saying, hey, stop being stupid, and get yourself something like this. This is a typical power for me. If it's an attack power, I usually have about 1 or 2 accuracy, 3 damage so that it can do as much damage as reasonably possible, and either an endurance discount if I feel like endurance is an issue. If it's not an issue, I'll do a recharge, and you'll start to feel it. When you slap these in there, you'll be like, oh, this works out good. I can attack more often. Well, the more often you attack, guess what? The more power you're using up. So when you start doing them all like this, you'll really start to see it in your blue bar drop. So that'll be a thing. Notice that at 66.6, at the 2 SOs, I'm perfectly fine. I'm not even in the green. If I were to add another one, again, I'd be in the yellow. If I change it to a dual origin, you see I am in the green. And again, green really means in MIDS, just so we're clear, for pre-ed, it's a difference, yes. It's not so much that you'd really notice it. I mean, really, it's not going to be that significant of a dip. Yellow, you're starting to feel it. When it's red, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna know it, because it's like, where the hell's my damage increase? It's gonna be a minor increase at best. That's why Ed does that, or the MIDS gives you that color-coded system. So look for numbers in the yellows to greens, I would say, and you're probably doing pretty good. Now, transitioning from there, let's talk about the other enhancements that are in the game that are permanent buffs as well. And that's these guys, set bonuses. Depending on the type of power, in many cases, not all, they have a set bonus power enhancements that you can craft and slot. What does set bonuses mean? Well, it's twofold part of the story. One, you'll see if I hover over Far Strike, for instance, right here, you see there's 3 in the set, and I have in this particular power 0 of 3 slotted. Notice how Far Strike there's 3 different recipes, one for damage and range, one for damage and recharge, and one for accuracy and endurance. Brother Mutant, does that mean I can literally buff all those with just those 3 slots? This it does. Literally, this one slot is buffing both damage and range. This one slot is buffing damage and recharge. This one is buffing accuracy and endurance. And better than that, if you hover over here, you see the enhancement set bonus for having 2 or more of the same set in the same power. That's key. You can't have this one over here, for instance. I can't do like this and say, oh, I have all 3 of them. Yeah, but you only got 2 in one power. So that's the point. You really need to have it in the same power. You see I get tier 2 ability, which is the Mes resistance to terrorize, and the tier 3 ability, which is extra hit points, permanently added to my character. And while that doesn't sound like that big a deal because it's only 9 hit points, Brother Mutant, you are correct. This is a lame one. But look at some of these other ones. Here's one that increases your regen by 12% and gives you an extra 2.25% to your hit points. Remember, your hit points aren't on a scale of 1 to 100. Your hit points are on a scale that steadily goes up as you level in character. I want to say that some of the tanks get over 2,000 hit points. Some of the blasters get around 1,200 or something at level 50. So a considerable increase is 27 hit points, because that's a lot of damage that you can still take. And you can slot these multiple times. Notice it gives me a universal at level 4 damage buff. That's to every power, not just this one. All powers that do damage will now get a 3% increase to their damage, and that's something that Ed does not affect. That is just given to you. So I can increase my damage output this way. These are really nice for this reason. Also, something to note is while these are craftable, and again, they never wear out, let's give you an example. If you type 1 in, it'll make sure it slots it at the lowest possible level. This one, the range is from 30 to 53. So if I type in 1, it literally says, oh, you merely meant 30. If I type in, let's go back to this example here, the highest range is 25, but if I type in 50, it'll say, oh, you want the highest possible, 25. So if you want the lowest, just put 1. If you want the highest, put 50, and chances are you'll get the one that makes sense. But again, those are not stackable as far as they're not the same set. So again, go back to here. And something else to point out is while there's ranges, I do not have to have all of them be 30 or all of them be 50. They can be random numbers. They just have to be different ones. And again, you see I'm still getting the set bonus. You cannot put devastation, accuracy, damage in the same power 6 times. It is unique in that power, so to speak. That doesn't mean I can't put it down here, and would do so. See, here's accuracy damage at level 41. Here's accuracy damage at level 30. I just happen to have 2 recipes. I crafted both of them. I can't put both at the same power because it's both the same stat that it's buffing. So I'll put 1 in one power, 1 in the other. And again, continue to do so for these other things. All right, so you can do this, again, multiple times. And the way this helps you is not only are you getting those set bonuses, and you're also making sure those powers are cool, you're actually getting a really nice increase to several stats by 6 slotting a power, which is, by the way, is the highest number of slots that you can put in a power. So this one's buffing accuracy by 58.31%. Damage is in the red, but still it's pretty damn nice that it's in the red, and you've buffed accuracy too, and endurance, and recharge time. So while, again, You may see people saying, oh, why is your powers and damage in the red? You suck. You clearly only care about damage. No, this set is buffing several stats, including my accuracy and my endurance and my recharge. I am team friendly. And I'm giving myself this massive stat buff to regen, hit points, universal damage, held resistance, which again I'll talk about in a separate video, defense for psionic attacks, which if you go to totals you can actually see some of these stats. Here's your defenses, globally speaking. Here's your resistances, which are non-existent right now. The only reason why we have any defense at all is combat jumping was on, and these two power sets have given me some psychic protection. See that? With everything off, these ones are always on, by the way. With all these ones off, though, you see I'm still getting that psionic defense. Why? Because I have 3.75 twice. You can actually get the same buff, not in the same set necessarily, but the same buff. So if there's another power set that it gave 3.75% defense to psychic or psionic attack, that's the same buff. That's what I'm talking about. I can get the same buff 5 times if memory serves. And after 5, you won't get the 6th one. So if I have this power set, for instance, slotted 6 times with 6 different powers and 6 slotted, just like you see here, I will not get that 6th set of bonuses. I won't see another 12% regen. I won't see the extra 27.11 HP. It'll show it here, but in the actual build itself, you won't see it represented. The psychic damage or defense won't go up. The regen won't go up another 12%. You will actually notice it. And if you go to sets and bonuses, and here it'll flag it as red. It'll say, hey, you got a cap, which means you've exceeded the cap of 5. 5 of the same buffs exist, and you, for whatever reason, got a 6th. The 6th is not being counted. So MIDS will actually warn you of that. If you go to Windows, Sets, and Bonuses, it'll show it there. But again, it's rare, and you're not likely to do it because you're more likely than not, you're going to diversify. You're going to get some of these other sets because they provide different benefits. So let's look at some of those benefits, shall we? So again, this one gave you some really nice stuff. Notice it also had a proc in it, this one here called Chance of Hold. When you attack with a power, 20% or 15% or whatever it says, here in this case 15. 15% of the time, it will hold a target. That's paralysis type of spell. Now, again, random, but when it goes off, it's really, really nice. So it's really cool. This one here has no procs, but it capitalizes on damage. So let's do a comparison, shall we? Let's 50 slot all of these so that they're maximum. That way it's something that we can compare. Okay, 50s across the board. And this one here, we're going to make 50s across the board for the other set called Thunderstrike, a set that I'm a big fan of as well, and you'll see why here in a minute. And again, we're getting a unique one for each one, and it tells you, oh, you've already had these slotted, you can't slot it again. That's why MIDS is really nice, because it'll preemptively warn you, you can't slot that one again. You've already done it once before in this power. So let's look at the general comparison. So not just talking about the set bonuses, just the accuracy, the damage, and etc. Here the accuracy is 66.25, here it's 68.9. So already I'm more accurate. Not leaps and bounds, but it's definitely better. Damage is 97.89, damage here is 101.47. Again, better. 68.9 for endurance and recharge. Over here, endurance is 45, recharge is 66. So you probably wouldn't really notice the recharge difference, but you'll definitely notice the endurance discount. So again, this one's better. This one has the proc though, this one does not. So do you really want to hold that target? Sometimes that's helpful. You're helping the team and it's keeping you alive. Why wouldn't you want that? Well, I want these ones because it does more damage, Brother Mutant, and it's more accurate, Brother Mutant, and it's cheaper, Brother Mutant. Okay, fine, dude, go ahead and pick it. I'm not going to tell you not to. Notice the buffs too. This one's a completely different set bonuses. Some of them overlap. Again, they'll have repeats. There'll be some that don't have repeats. Or they'll be similar but not the same. So again, there'll be ones that have 12% regen. There'll be ones that give 10% regen. Those aren't the same. It's the same as far as it's giving regen. But that cap of 5 I just told you about, they are not the same. We're talking about, does it give 12% regen? Yes. Do you have 5 of those? Yes, that's fine. That means you got 60% more regen. That's pretty cool. Do you get 6 of them? Yes. Then you're not getting that other 12%. So you're not going to get 72% regen. You're only going to get that 60. But I could slot a completely different power set that gives me, let's see, I think there's one right right here, 10% regen. I can do this with just 2 set bonuses. I just need to put 2 Luck of the Gamblers in a power, and I get 10% regen. That's close to 12, and again, I can do that 5 times, right? So that's some really nice regen. But now look at this one. This one gives not regen, it gives recovery. Notice it's lame, it's 2%, but it tells you what that 2% actually equals for this build. 0.03% endurance per second. That's free endurance coming your way, man, and it's always on. It's really nice. It's also giving us defense. You see how we have defense from energy and negative attacks? We also have range defense, less of it. We have an enhancement to accuracy, just like this one that gave damage buff to every power. This one's giving an accuracy buff to every power. We increase our movement speed, which is why it says speed running, flying, jumping, and blah, blah, blah. Basically just movement. Just think of it in general. It's increasement to movement. And it's giving us defenses, again, for range, and again, lesser to defense against energy negative, which is why we're seeing these guys actually be at a useful number. It's not amazing, I'll grant you, but if you 6 or 5 slotted that, 5 different powers, and you pick that set, what would that give you? So take this number that you're seeing here, multiply it by 5, guys. This could be literally close to 20% defense. 20% defense to range attacks. Just because you slotted powers 5 times with this type of a set. You see why this is useful, right? And then other people will say, well, Brother Mutant, that's all well and good, but I don't like to have everything in the red, and I would rather have my accuracy be in the green or yellow for, MIDS, or for Ed to start kicking in, but not really impacting me. I'd rather have everything in that sweet spot, the yellow/green zone, and not have that massive diminishing return on damage. Okay, you're not really going to get that from a specific power set, sadly. They almost always capitalize on one thing, in this case damage, or recharge, or to hit buff, or whatever it is the set bonus is giving you. So how can I get you there? And I can do it. It's called Franken Slotting. So let's take a set. These are ranged, single target ranged attack sets, okay? So you see right here it says, this one's melee, so this one's different than these guys. So we want to go back to this one here, TK Blast, because we want to keep the range. So it's kind of apples and apples comparison, because these ones are ranged, single target. So is this one. So here's our range sets again. What can I do? Well, let's say you look for the set bonuses that give you what you're interested in. Here's one that gives accuracy and damage, as well as recharge. This one gave accuracy, damage, and endurance. Those are 2 slots that I've slotted that gave buffs to 3 different stats, right? So already we're moving in the right direction. Go to a different one. Here's one that does accuracy, damage, endurance, and recharge. That's nice. How about you see what else it's got in there? Here's an accuracy, damage, recharge. Let's take that. So by 4 slotting this one, already we've exceeded the accuracy of this guy and this guy, right? It's in the green. These aren't. So already this is better. The damage is lackluster compared to this one and this one, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still pretty goddamn close. 80.94 versus 101 and 97. Okay, maybe it's not that close, but we still have 2 more slots to put in. Let's go to this set here. Do another accuracy, damage, recharge. Now we're in the reds twice. We're actually exceeded accuracy and damage compared to these guys. And again, the damage is pretty damn respectable, and the recharge is in the green. Well, now you see that the endurance is lackluster, Brother Mutant. There's nothing saying that you can't do that. Boom. Franken slotted up the yin-yang just to get yourself some green and some red in 4 stats. Yes, it took all 6 slots to do it. Yes, there's probably even better ways to do it than just this. But you see what I just did there. With 6 slots, I've actually achieved better numbers than these guys. Do I get all the set bonuses? Oh, hell no. I'm only getting like set bonus for regen and recovery. But you said you didn't care about that. You said you wanted these numbers to be in the green, yellow, and red for those 4 stats. That's what Franken Slotting does. And again, it doesn't have to be specific numbers. It could be the lowest to bring it down. There you go. A 30 and a 50, 50, 50, 40, 50. And you got yourself some yellows and some greens. And that's a respectable attack power, right? That's what that just did. Let's go a little further, though. Besides Franken Slotting, which, again, highly recommend for those that are min-maxing for a specific effect and don't care so much about the set bonuses. And there's no reason that you shouldn't be worried about set bonuses, but again, because they make you better. But again, better is arbitrary. Think about this one. This one here gave you Universal accuracy across the board. What does that mean? The 7% increase from this level 4 set bonus? Look at TK Blast. We haven't modified it in the slightest. See how the accuracy is greater than 75? That's because of this guy here. How do I know that? Shift right click. See how it disappeared? Because I made it go away. Bring it back. Same with the damage output. See how the damage is 126. So again, we have nothing in this power at all, right? TK Blast, completely empty. It's got a slight, and I can't stress slight enough, damage bump. Why? This one here gave 3%, right? Get out of it. Make it go away. And when you do that, you'll see that the numbers went back down, right? It's the base amount again. There's going to be powers in here, fine example, that give recharge bonus 7.5% for the specific proc. You just put it in a defense set and forget it. That's global. That works on every power. So look how this one already has an recharge discount. Why? Because of that. And I can slot that 5 times. If I have 5 defense powers, I can totally do that and increase it each time. Why is that important? Because that means I don't have to slot things like this. Yes, it's going to stack. Yes, it's going to be better. If I turn this off, you see how this number changes. It went to 3 seconds. Turn it back on, 2.84. Yes, it's minor. But again, I only use 1. If I did 5 of them, right? So again, you see the point. But now, let's look at some other crap. Not only do we have training origin, dual origin, single origin enhancements, we have IOs that we've talked about. And again, I can say slotted at 3 and it gives the minimum. So just type in 1 and it'll make whatever the minimum possibly is. So with these, again, go in increments of 10, 15, 20, 25. So 10 is the smallest, and then 5 increments from there on. Whereas these ones, they can be 31, they can be 27 sometimes, they can be 10 sometimes, they can be teeny tiny. Now, there's some in there in the game that are literally 1 is a possibility for some of these. So again, there's a possibility that it's available as soon as possible. You will not necessarily find those ones very easily, but it does happen. But let's look at some other sets. So here's Hemidon origins, or Hemios. You may hear people talk about HOs or Hemios. It's not a breakfast cereal. It is literally a rare, can't stress enough, rare, an enhancement that drops in specific mega missions. They even implemented the ability to craft some. So these ones are basically, you can craft them from various places, but they're the same. They behave in the same manner. It's not set bonuses either. These are just enhancements that in this particular case are always good. And if you can slot it in the power, it's giving you whatever benefit it's giving you every time. So it's permanent. It's just like these guys. So here's an Hemidon origin called Nucleolus Exposure. This is a common one for people that want to do damage. Notice what it does. Accuracy and damage increase by 33.3%. Where have we heard that number before, class? Let's go back to SOs and put a accuracy in there and a damage in there. And oh, look, for 2 slots, I can get the exact same benefit as 1 slot of Hemios. You see why people like this one? You start doing stuff like this in your builds. I'm already in the yellow for 2 stats, and all it took was 3 slots. Tell me that's not appealing to you. And then there's other Hemios besides that. So this is actually damage. That's an obvious one. There's accuracy mez. There's damage in mez, damage in range. There's endurance and resistance. Those are great for, like, let's put kick, tough, and weave are common. So let's do like this. These are a resistance buff and a defense buff. So if I turn them off, you'll see the effect. Here's tough, resistance to smashing and lethal only. Weave, defense across the board, right? They're toggles and therefore they're pricey, so endurance is a thing. You'd also like to buff up their resistance as well, but I don't want to spend 6 slots, Brother Mutant, increasing something so lame that will, yes, help me, but it's going to be a big investment because that's a lot of slots to put in it to make it useful. Okay, then just get these Hemios that are extremely expensive. Right there. 3 slotted for resistance and endurance, which is the 2 main stats. Yes, you could have had recharge in here too, but We didn't care about recharge. You're going to leave this on all the damn time. When it goes down, it'll come back up. You'll reactivate it. But that's 3 slotted, and that's giving you damn near the maximum benefit that you can get from it. Which again isn't stellar, but now it's cheaper. And you can do the same for the weave because there's one in here for defense. This one's resistance. Don't slot it in there because all it will buff is the endurance cost. It says it's buffing the resistance. There is no resistance to buff. But it can buff the endurance. So here's the defense buff and to hit buff, which there isn't one in weave, and an endurance discount, which there is in weave. So we'll use 2 of those 3 buffs. And again, that's the best you can get for 3 slotting it, really. A really nice increase to your defenses, globally, all defenses. A decent resistance to smashing and lethal, and they're really cheap to run those toggles now. That's not that bad. I've had 6 toggles on the tune sometimes running where the endurance drain was over 1 endurance per second. But I had a really nice recovery too. But that's what hand-me-down Origin enhancements do. They literally are multi-buff ones. There's no set bonuses for them. You can get real trippy with them. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, you can min and max and Franken slot those too. So again, if you were to do something like, say you don't care about that chance of hold. You like all those other enhancements that it's giving you, and you don't really care about the psychic defense that the level 6 buff would give you. So you get all these 50s in here. You say, I don't want this one, but I have this extra slot I've already put in there. And what do I want in there? Well, find something in the hand-me-down here that's accuracy and something that's not damage, because damage is already maxed. Maybe it's a power that does defense debuffs or to hit debuffs. We can increase that and see how we put the accuracy into the yellow. If that's not your thing, maybe it's a MIDS power where it literally will do something trippy like immobilize a target. Here's a Ring of Fire. It's a fine example. Take all these back to 0 or to blank. We'll put all these 50s in here, and again we'll say, oh, I didn't want that last one, but I do want a 6 slotted because I know this is one of my best powers. Let's just say it has this wonderful ability to immobilize the target. You haven't modified that at all. Here's an accuracy mez hand-me-down. Look what it just did. It increased the duration of the immobilization effect, and it put your accuracy into the yellow. Perfectly viable. And again, you'll have so much fun playing around with these. You have no idea. But that's why I point this out to you in this video. And I know I've gone on for quite some time, but I am very passionate about this game. There's a lot of things to learn, and I don't know everything, but I do try to impart as much wisdom as I can. A couple other things we'll talk about, and then I'll call it quits for the day, is notice there's modes up here for PvE, PvP. Your numbers will change. Let's go here to your total. So here's our defense and our resistance. We haven't really slotted much of anything. So these are really lame numbers. Notice how my PvP numbers change. Here's what it is when I'm fighting normal enemies in the game. In the PvP zone, look how massive your resistances get. Why are they so high? Because you would be a squishy ass bastard if you went into PvP as a blaster. You would never survive, because you aren't going to have any defenses and any resistances for a damn. So they buffed them across the board. Yes, that looks impressive. Remember, your hit points did not get buffed. That's going to be a thing. So you're fighting against a tank, but you have that benefit of you do a shit ton of damage, and a tank does not. So again, they tried their best to balance it. PvP is not balanced like always. They did their best. I'm not complaining. But another thing you need to understand when you PvP in this game, which I don't do normally, I will try it, and I usually I would PvP against spar against a friend in the game. And I always thought that if I build a character, and it doesn't matter what the character is, if I build him seriously, paying attention to his stats, and build him concept-wise in my brain and in MIDS for PvP, I should be able to win, not every fight, the same number of fights. You know, comparably. 50% of the time I should win, 50% of the time I should lose. Yes? No. Doesn't matter skill in this game. I mean, it does, but it's not like you think. There are certain power sets that just suck at PvP. It's best that you understand that. This will never land. Your regen's gonna suck. He's gonna fucking bitch slap you because you have no defenses. Even with your resistances through the roof, you're still taking considerable damage from leaving a tank. So it's not that you're immune, guys. There's certain builds that just are not made for PvP. And the sooner you wrap that around your brain, the better off you're going to be, because you'll beat your head against the wall like I did for a year. I had a friend that we teamed all the time, and he had a really good PvP build, so he would challenge me. I was like, okay, cool. And I have a build, I'll show you real quick, that I was very proud of. It was called Hunter Warrior, and there's 2 different ones I have on here, but it's probably the first one. This was my build. Okay, notice on PvE, so fighting the normal bad guys, this would be what I would do. I was a ranged attacker. I had a rifle. I was not the best attacker because Bane Spider does more damage with the mace. I don't like the mace. I'd rather have the rifle. So I kept it, but I took all the best of the other stuff. And this was the general build. I have really good defenses. Just to be clear, in the game, 45% defense from anything. In PvE, from equal level mobs, means they're missing me, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 times that they're going to miss. So they'll hit me 1 out of 10 times because it's built into that, you know, that 5% chance that they'll always hit you. So it's probably not even 1 out of 10, it's probably 1 out of 20. But the point is I have the best defenses possible that people shoot for, which is called a soft cap of 45%. And I've exceeded that. So you would think I'd be awesome in the game, right? And it's a pretty decent build for the game. It's not a boss killer. I can't solo a lot of stuff. And I don't do epic single target damage as much as I would like. And the damage is good. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a really nice hit. And I have the ability to build up so it will actually do more damage when it fires off. So it's actually inflated numbers. Burst damage with my assault rifle is pretty decent. I can immobilize targets for a decent amount of time. I can do AoE moves, which the cone's kind of narrow, but I can still AoE a shit ton of bad guys and do a considerable amount of damage to them. If I get melee, I can run up and stab someone for a ridiculous amount of damage. Again, I have a lot of good stuff in this build. Debuffs, buffs, team support. This is a really nice character. I fought this guy in PvP. Look at how the damage changes. 199, 165. So my damage is going up, right? You're thinking that this is going to be amazing. This one went actually down. We have, you notice your immobilizes. Here's how long it normally lasts. A regular mob, 32 seconds. In PvP, 3.2 seconds. That's it. And you can't spam immobilizes in this game. Once you've been immobilized and it wears off, you're like protected in PvP from the next immobilize. So you want immobilize, you want to hold, you want to stun, you want a confuse, you want a terrorize, you want every mez possible. Because once he's immune to one for a brief period of time, just use a different one on him. Okay, he's immune to that, use something else. Those are useful. I don't have a lot of that in this build. I built for PvP specifically sometimes fighting him, thinking that, you know, not this build, but similar, the same character, just different power picks and stuff. And I did the best I could to kill the son of a bitch. I could not take him down. He healed off of me with his powers, which is a different build than this. Of course, he was a different type of class. He would heal off me because that's one of his powers. When he would heal off me, my regen would get floored. So every damage he did to me, normally you heal in battle because everybody regenerates. I was not regenerating because he was flooring it because his powers didn't minus regen to the target. I would debuff his ability to defend because most of my powers take a defense penalty to the target. It lowers their defenses every time I shoot you. So it makes it easier to shoot you again, and then I shoot you again, and then I shoot you again. I have a lot of powers that do that. I have powers that lower their resistance to the target. For, again, a brief period of time, I could debuff his resistance so he would take more damage from me. And I still could not drop him. I would summon pets and have the pets attack him, right? The pets would just automatically attack. He could heal off the pets because it was easier to attack the pets than me. So you see what I'm saying? Just because you're building for PvP doesn't mean you're going to beat every character. I could find probably plenty of people that I could beat even with this build in PvP just because I have really good abilities here. But not everybody. He was specifically making a tune for PvP. He knew what he was doing. Kudos to him for doing so. And I tried and tried and tried. And he was very encouraging. He wasn't a dick. That's why I actually PvP with him, because most people are just like laughing at you and teabagging you in the game and just being general dicks. That's why I hate PvP. The culture behind it sucks. But I always thought it would be interesting to have a tune that was good at both PvE and PvP. And I'm sure they exist. He had one that was good for both. But again, it's one of those where I did not find his whatever his class, his archetype, appealing to me for whatever reason. It just didn't strike my fancy. I like this character. I thought he would be cool, and he's pretty darn beefy even in PvP mode. He's not so in PvE, but I still like him, and he is good team support. So I'm welcome on almost every team because I'm providing everybody defenses. I'm providing everybody a bonus to their damage. I'm providing everybody a bonus to their chance to hit. Is all I gotta do is stand near me, and I'm buffing 3 of your stats. People love having him on the team. Why is it that he sucks so badly in PvP? Well, for one, I didn't have all the gear that you're seeing here. This is pie in the sky dreaming. It's what MIDS is about. But I had it pretty goddamn close. I had numbers that were really comparable to these, maybe off by like 3% here and there, but that's about it. And I still couldn't take that guy out. So don't beat yourself up over stuff like that. But with that, my name's Brother Mutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Again, I apologize for not posting a video sooner, guys, but you can see what I've been working on, why I'm working. I've done this video like a dozen times, and I just can't seem to express the importance of it without being like a 2-hour video. So hopefully this one's a little shorter today. But with that, I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.